My speech today is about the story of the Virgin Mary and how it is narrated to us in the Quran. Specifically, I want to discuss a single verse, verse number 23 in chapter 19, named Mary. In this verse, Allah says,
فأجاءها المخاض إلى جذع النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا.
and the pains of childbirth drove her to the trunk of a palm tree. She, Mary, said, "Oh, I wish I had died before this and was in oblivion, forgotten." In this verse, it is revealed to us that when Mary was giving birth to her child, Jesus, Mary was so depressed that she wished she had died before she was put in this very difficult situation. However, in Islam, wishing for death is totally prohibited. In a hadith narrated by both Imam Muslim and Al-Bukhari, the Prophet Muhammad said, "No one of you should wish for death." So why did Mary, a righteous, patient, and God-loving person, ask for death at that moment? In Islam, Jesus is one of the best 5 greatest messengers, or prophets, who had the ultimate determination and patience while guiding their nations. Mary is also one of the greatest and purest 2 women Allah ever created. In chapter 3, named the family of Imran, verse number 42, Allah says, "And mention when the angel said, 'O Mary, indeed, Allah has chosen you and purified you and chosen you above the women of the worlds.'" This verse makes it clear just how pure Mary was. It says that Allah chose her, purified her, and then chose her again over all other women He ever created. In other words, Mary was chosen to be raised above all other women who ever lived on earth. To understand just how Allah chose, purified, and then chose Mary again, let's look at her family, the family of her father Imran. In chapter 3, the family of Imran, verse number 33, Allah says,
إن الله اصطفى آدم ونوحا وآل إبراهيم وآل عمران على العالمين ذرية بعضها من بعض.
Indeed, Allah chose Adam and Noah and the family of Abraham and the family of Imran over the worlds. Descendants, some of them from others. I will repeat, descendants, some of them from others. From this verse, we learn that Allah chose 2 specific prophets and 2 specific families over His creations, each for a specific purpose. First, He chose Adam over all other species that ever lived on earth to be the father of all of mankind, and the first successor and leader of the earth. Then He chose Noah over all the children of Adam to be the second father of all of mankind and all humans that would come after him. It is important to note that there was no difference between the offspring of Noah and the rest of the offspring of Adam. This is why Allah said He chose Noah himself and not his family. He didn't make a preference of the family of Noah over the rest of the family of Adam. Then Allah chose not the Prophet Abraham himself, but his family over all mankind to exclusively receive the honor of the prophethood. Obviously, the honor of prophethood went only to the best individuals of this family. For example, his 2 sons Ishmael and Isaac were both prophets. Our Prophet Muhammad was the only descendant of Ishmael who became a prophet. All other prophets, including Jacob, Yusuf, Moses, David, Suleiman, and Zachariah, were all descendants of Isaac. What about the individuals of Abraham's family who were not messengers or prophets? They are like any other human beings. There is no difference at all. If they believe in Allah and do good, they will go to paradise. And if they disbelieve or do bad, like Abu Talib and Abu Lahab, the 2 uncles of the Prophet Muhammad did, they will go to hellfire. Although Prophet Muhammad informed us that he is the master of all the children of Adam, as narrated by Imam Muslim and Al-Bukhari, Allah did not make his birth or his family any different than any other human beings. For example, the Prophet Muhammad has a father and a mother like all of us. Instead, Allah chose the family of Imran, the father of the Virgin Mary, to be the chosen family over all human beings and over the rest of the family of Abraham. As narrated by Imam Muslim and Al-Bukhari, John the Baptist and Jesus were the sons of sisters and therefore cousins. If we take the literal meaning of this quote, we know at least 5 members of the family of Imran. Imran's wife, his daughter Mary and her sister, Mary's son Jesus, and her sister's son John the Baptist. we can conclude that Mary was chosen to be a member of the chosen family of Imran, which was chosen over the rest of the chosen family of Abraham, which was chosen over the rest of the descendants of the chosen prophet Noah, who was chosen over the rest of the descendants of the chosen prophet Adam. What a great honor this is for Mary and Jesus. So, why would a woman as chosen and pure as Mary wish for death? An action that was clearly prohibited by the Prophet Muhammad. Why wasn't she patient and tolerant while giving birth, an event that the vast majority of women experience? In order to answer this question, let us first look closely at the exact words Mary said. She said, "Oh, I wish I had died before this and was in oblivion forgotten." So, as she is specifically saying that she wishes she had died before she was placed in this difficult situation, let's look at her life before she became pregnant. In other chapters and verses of the Quran, Allah provides us with insight into the early childhood of Mary. In chapter 3, the family of Imran, verse number 35, Allah says, "Mention, O Muhammad, when the wife of Imran said, 'My Lord, indeed I have pledged to you what is in my womb, consecrated for your service. So accept this from me. Indeed, you are the hearing, the knowing.'" At that time, parents would devote their children to God and have them spend their entire lives at the church so that they could focus on worshiping the God. And this is what Mary's mother did when she became pregnant. Then Allah says, "So her Lord accepted her with good acceptance and caused her to grow in a good manner and put her in the care of Zachariah. Every time Zachariah entered upon her in the prayer chamber, he found she had provisions. He said, 'O Mary, from where is this coming to you?' She said, 'It is from Allah. Indeed, Allah provides for whom He wills without account.'" This verse shows us just how strong a relationship Mary had with God. Even though she wasn't a prophet or messenger, Allah would send her food and provisions without any effort on her part. Also, it is revealed to us in this verse that this wasn't an occasional event, but a continuous one. So much so that every time the Prophet Zachariah, her guardian, would enter her chamber, he would find that she had food and provisions from Allah. Note how easy and peaceful Mary's life was before she became pregnant. She was an honorable young girl who was served by the Prophet Zachariah, the leader of the whole Jewish community at his time, and the husband of her older sister. Why did the Prophet Zachariah and most probably her sister, who were a very old man and his wife, need to bring her provisions to her place of worship? This is because shortly before she became pregnant, Mary chose to isolate herself from all members of her community. As Allah says in chapter 19, named Mary, verse number 16, "And mention, O Muhammad, in the book the story of Mary, when she withdrew from her family to a place towards the east, and she took in seclusion from them a screen. Then we sent to her our angel, and he represented himself to her as a well-proportioned man. She said, 'Indeed, I seek refuge in the most merciful from you, so leave me if you should be fearing of Allah.' He said, 'I am only the messenger of your Lord to give you news of a pure boy.' She said, 'How can I have a boy while no man has touched me and I have not been unchaste?' He said, 'Thus it will be. Your Lord says, it is easy for me, and we will make him a sign to the people and a mercy from us, and it is a matter already decreed.'" These 6 verses describe Mary's encounter with the angel that told her she would become pregnant. He came to her while she was alone in her prayer chamber in the form of a man, and when she saw him, not knowing he was an angel, she was afraid of him and puzzled regarding how he was able to enter her guarded and locked room. She immediately told him to leave her and be God-fearing. However, he explained to her that he was one of the angels of Allah, and told her that she would become pregnant with a pure boy. When Mary heard this, she was shocked, and asked how she could become pregnant when no man had ever touched her. However, the angel simply said that this was the decree of Allah, and that Allah's decree would be done. In the next verses, Allah describes to us how Mary's life changed with her pregnancy. Allah says, "So she conceived him, and she withdrew with him to a remote place." This verse shows us the emotions and feelings of Mary once her pregnancy started to become visible, and how shameful she felt during her 9-month pregnancy. She knew that her nation would judge her and question her morality if they saw her pregnant. No one would ever believe that she was innocent. She was already relatively isolating herself in a prayer chamber in a place closed off from her nation. But after she became pregnant, she chose to totally isolate herself in a very remote place far away from any human being. Allah did not tell us how she tried to manage to get food and water to survive. But from the next verses, we figure out that the angels would have neglected giving her any food or water since she became pregnant. For her, it would have looked as if Allah and the angels had abandoned her. Since she left her nation to a very remote place, it would have been very difficult for the extremely old man Zachariah to bring food or water to her, even if he had known where she was. Apparently, the feelings of shame and abandonment were far more depressing than the feelings of loneliness, hunger, and thirst. Why did Allah give her this very harsh test? Why didn't the angels continue to give her sustenance without any effort from her side? This is because Allah wants to teach us that Mary and Jesus are just as human as we are. Jesus is not a God or the son of God. He is just a man that Allah created and one of the best 5 prophets and messengers. Allah had prepared Mary for a long time and trained her to trust first and foremost in herself and to deeply understand that reasoning does not limit Allah's capabilities. When Allah wants something, He simply says be, and it will be with reasoning or without reasoning. As Allah says,
إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون.
His command is only when He intends a thing that He says to it be, and it is. While Mary was very depressed due to her situation, full of shame, not knowing how to face her family and nation or what to say to them, and feeling lonely, abandoned, hungry, and thirsty, one more depressing item was added to this list: the regular pain of childbirth. No one was beside her to support her. She found no house, room, or even a wall. All she found was the trunk of a palm tree. She was in pain and very depressed that despite her hunger, she did not even raise her head to look at the top of the palm tree to see whether it had dates or not. This brings us to the focus of our speech. Allah says in the next verse, "And the pains of childbirth drove her to the trunk of a palm tree. She said, 'Oh, I wish I had died before this and was in oblivion, forgotten.'" Now, the whole picture of Mary while she was giving birth should be clearer to us. Naturally, even the best or one of the best women who ever lived is not able to stand this tremendous stress. She is a human like any other human. She reached the breaking point, wished for death, and set the maximum limit of depression and physical and emotional stress any lady can handle. Yes, this is the lesson for us. She is absolutely human like us with a limited power and ability. Only Allah is the absolute and ultimate power. What happened immediately after Mary broke and wished for death teaches us a great lesson about how God's mercy is always near us. Allah only gives us hard times to teach us how to be patient and to increase the reward for those of us who are patient to the maximum degree we can ever tolerate. Allah says in another chapter, "For indeed with hardship will be ease. Indeed, with hardship will be ease." Allah repeated the same sentence twice to emphasize the point that most people do not realize when they go through calamity or hardship. When Mary broke and wished for death, Allah immediately supported her and solved all her problems. Allah says, "But He called her from below her. Do not grieve. Your Lord has provided beneath you a water stream. And shake toward you the trunk of the palm tree. It will drop upon you ripe, fresh dates. So eat and drink and be contented, be happy. And if you see from among humanity anyone say, 'Indeed, I have vowed to the most merciful abstention, so I will not speak today to any one of mankind.'" Mary was in pain during her delivery, and so Allah completed her delivery safely and the pain went away. She was depressed and felt lonely and abandoned, and so Allah blessed her with a miracle, a son that would talk to her immediately after he was born. She was thirsty, and so her son told her to simply look beneath her, for Allah had placed there a stream of water that she could drink from. She felt hungry, and so her son told her to simply look above her to the top of the palm tree, for Allah had placed there plenty of fresh, ripe dates. Whenever you need to eat, just do your part and shake the trunk of the palm tree, and the dates will fall. Indeed, God's relief and support were always very close to her. Water was under her and the fresh, ripe dates were above her. But she did not know this when she was driven to the spot to give birth. Now, it is important to note that things didn't go back to the way they used to be before Mary got pregnant. She didn't receive her food and provisions directly from Allah without effort from her side. Instead, she was ordered to do her part and shake the trunk of the palm tree. And even though this action itself wouldn't have caused the dates to fall, Allah wanted to teach her and us that she was like any other human being that needs to first struggle in order to receive assistance from Allah. Then Allah ordered her to look at the beauty of her son, one of the greatest prophets who ever walked on earth. He told her to just enjoy herself by being closer to her baby and never mind or worry about how she would defend her honor in front of her family and nation. Allah said not to even bother talking to any individual of mankind. Allah himself would defend her and her honor. We do not know if she continued talking to Jesus or not after this order from Allah, but she definitely felt better and stronger and was able to face her nation after she was able to walk and return to them while carrying her newborn baby. The next verses go into detail about what happened when Mary returned to her nation, but we will go into this in another speech.